So the cure for al-ishq al-muharram, the cure for forbidden love, forbidden lust, the cure for jonesing, the cure for looking at the haram, the cure for looking at what is evil and impermissible online, the cure for looking at illicit women, disgusting women in person or in virtual reality, the cure for many of the ills that plague our communities goes back to the fact that their hearts are not strong with the tawheed of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. Ay wallahi. It goes back to this affair. He said rahmatullahi alayhi, قال تعالى عن يوسف الصديق عليه السلام. Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, He said about Yusuf al-Sadiq alayhi salam, كذلك لنصرف عنه السوء والفحشاء. He said that was made to occur. He was tested with that. لنصرف عنه. The lamb here is the lamb of a ta'leel, for the purpose of warding off from him السوء والفحشاء, any evil and lewd sexual behavior. Why? Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, He gives us the reason. إنه من عبادنا المخلصين. That He is from, that indeed He is from, or He was from our sincere worshippers. His ikhlas, His tawheed, al-ubudiyyah, His tawheed as regards His worship of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala is what saved Him from al-ishq al-muharram. Al-ishq al-muharram, from forbidden love, from forbidden lust. And so according to the dha'af of a person's iman will be his chance of falling into something like that. And if a person finds himself having a hard time lowering his gazes, then he needs to crack the books, the most important of books, to open the book of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. وَيُحَرِّقْ قَلْبَهُ آيَةً آيَةً. And he needs to move his heart and mobilize his heart by reading the Quran verse after verse, and bringing about within himself the ta'zeem, the veneration and respect for the orders of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. Listen to the statement of Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, فَامْرَأَةُ الْعَزِيزِ لَمَّا كَانَتْ مُشْرِكَةً وَقَعَتْ فِيمَا وَقَعَتْ فِيهِ مَعَ كَوْنِهَا ذَاتَ زَوْجٍ. The wife of Al-Aziz, because she was a mushrikah, because she was an idolater, a polytheist, she fell into what she fell of infatuation, of having desire, obsession for Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, despite the fact that she had a husband. He said, وَيُوسُف عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ لَمَّا كَانَ مُخْلِصًا لِلَّهِ نَجَى مِنْ ذَلِكَ. And because Yusuf was sincere in his worship of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, he was saved from that. مَعَ كَوْنِهِ شَابًا عَزَبًا غَرِيبًا مَمْلُوكًا. Look at the four things that he mentions here. He said despite the fact that he was a youth, and that he was azaban, that he was single, and that he was ghariban, he was a stranger in a far off land, mamlukan, and he was a slave. He was subjugated as a slave, despite the fact that he was in this precarious, difficult situation. Because of his sincerity to Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, because of the what? The halawat al-iman, the sweetness of faith, he was able to be free of the temptation of the wife of Al-Aziz. Al-fa'idatu thaniya. How long have we been going? Al-fa'idatu thaniya. The second benefit. في غض البصر نور القلب وصحة الفراسة. The second benefit is the light of the heart and having genuine intuition. قال أبو شجاع الكرماني رحمه الله تعالى. And actually the name of Abu Shuja' was Shah ibn Shuja'. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he says Abu Shuja'. And other sources mentioned in Majmu' al-Fatawa and other places, his name is Shah ibn Shuja'. Right? You're not the only Shah. Right? Shah ibn Shuja' al-Karamani rahimahullah ta'ala, who was from the Ubbad, and he was from the worshippers of Khurasan. He said, من عمر ظاهره باتباع السنة وباطنه بدوام المراقبة وكف نفسه عن الشهوات وغض بصره عن المحارم واعتاد أكل الحلال لم تخطئ له فراسة. He said that whoever enlivens, brings their exterior to life by following the sunnah on the outside, and brings their inside, their heart to life by constantly having the cognizance and the understanding that Allah is watching them, having muraqabah. وَكَفَّ نَفْسَهُ عَنِ الشَّهَوَاتِ, and withholds his nafs from ash-shahawat, from lust. وَغَضَ بَصَرُهُ عَنِ الْمَحَارِمِ, and he lowers his vision from the maharim, from that which is forbidden. وَعْتَادَ أَكْلَ الْحَلَالِ, and he habitually eats only that which he knows to be permissible. لَمْ تُخْطِئْ لَهُ فِرَاسَةٌ, then his firasa will never err, then his intuition will never err. Firas is the ability to read people. Some of the Salaf, like Shurayh al-Qadi, some of the Salaf, and Ibn al-Qayyim has a lengthy section in his book, At-Turuq al-Hakamiyah. He talks about al-firasa, and the Imams of the Salaf, person after person from the Tabi'een and the Tabi'een, who could do things like, and he know how much change a person had on their pocket because of how their garment was sitting. Had that type of intuition. They were judges. They were made judges in their land. And this is something that is from the fruit of Iman, that it gives a person intuition to be able to see things as they really are and to see people for who they really are. The scholars, they have tremendous intuition in dealing with people. Not like the masakina today who say that there are a bunch of shabab that are fattaneen, that are running around tricking the scholars and pulling the wool over the eyes of the scholars and the likes of these affairs. The scholars, they have firasa, tremendous intuition as regards knowing who they're dealing with and who is who and what is what. Al-firasa is from the basira that comes from Iman. It is from the vision of the heart that comes on account of a person knowing. As Ibn al-Qayyim, he said, Al-Basira has three parts. Al-Basira, as regards vision, as regards knowing about Allah through His names and His attributes and His actions. Basira, as regards knowing about the orders of Allah and the prohibitions of Allah. And Basira, as regards knowing about Al-Wa'd wal-Wa'id, about the promises of Allah and the threats of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. The person who has this type of basira, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala will give him the ability أن يرى الأمور على حقائقها, to see affairs as they really are. To see affairs as they really are. For this reason, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He said after mentioning the people of Lut, may Allah send His salat and His salam upon His Prophet and His Messenger Lut alayhi salatu wasalam. After He mentioned what happened and how the people of Lut, they were tested, He said after that, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِلْمُتَوَسِّمِينَ, indeed in that are clear signs for the people of tawassum. And tawassum is al-firasa. Tawassum is being able to see the simat of people, the simat, the characteristics of people, the kha'inatul a'yun, the deceptiveness of the eyes of the people, to read the expressions of the faces of people and their body language and the likes of these affairs. It is from the fruits of lowering the gaze and staying away from the haram. It's from the fruit of lowering the gaze and staying away from the haram. He said, indeed in that are clear signs for the mutawassimin, for the people who can see, who have intuition and who can read the traits and the qualities of the people, and who have keen understanding. He said, وَهُمَ الْمُتَفَرِّسُونَ الَّذِينَ سَلِمُوا مِنَ النَّظَرِ الْمُحَرَّمِ وَالْفَاحِشَةِ. He said, they are the people of al-firasa, the people who have any keen intelligence and intuition, and who are free of looking at the haram and looking at fahisha and lewd acts and the likes of these things. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala قال عقيب أمره للمؤمنين بغض أبصارهم وحفظ فروجهم. For this reason, Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He said after mentioning the order for the people to lower their gaze. Listen to the insight of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala. This is tremendous. This is tremendous. And this is and something that is from the mafhum of the Quran. It is from the fiqh of the ulama, from the deep understanding of the scholars, that a person, that the lay person wouldn't be able to understand without the scholars directing him to the likes of these benefits. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, this is why, this is from the reasons why, from the what is called al-munasaba, because there's nothing that is disconnected in the Quran. Everything is interconnected in the Quran. A person, they go from one subject to another in a single surah, and they think that they are mutaqati'ah, that they are separate issues, not connected to each other, that there is no actual order for these things, that these things I mentioned, then some other things I mentioned, then some other things I mentioned, and then there's a conclusion. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's a conclusion. But everything is connected in the Quran. Allah, He mentions a detailed parable after mentioning what? The order for the people to lower the gaze and to safeguard the chastity, safeguard the private parts. What does He say? Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. That's a tremendous benefit. That's a tremendous benefit. And if a person, yashuddu laha al-rahil, if a person was to have traveled a long distance to get that benefit, he wouldn't have wasted a journey. That's a tremendous benefit. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah, He gives us a tremendous benefit. He tells us that He is the light of the heavens and the earth. He is the light of the heavens and the earth. And then He gives a tremendous parable, the most detailed parable in the Quran as regards guidance. The guidance, nurun ala nur, the guidance of the fitrah and the aql, meeting the guidance of the light of what? Of the revelation. The light of the revelation. And then Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, وَسِرُّ هَذَا أَنَ الْجَزَاءَ مِنْ جِنْسِ الْعَمَلِ. He said the secret behind this is that, recompense, reward and punishment is according to the type of action that a person does. A person shows mercy, they will be shown mercy. A person forgives, they will be forgiven. A person mistreats their elders, mistreats their parents, Allah will punish them with children that will mistreat them, and youth that will mistreat them when they're old. Al-jaza'u min jins al-amal. A person, they sacrifice some of their time to fulfill the rights of Allah and the rights of the creation, Allah gives them a longer life. Al-jaza'u min jins al-amal. There is much that is said about the topic. Al-jaza'u min jins al-amal. He said that is because al-jaza'u min jins al-amal. Because they lowered their gazes from what was forbidden, they were rewarded with something of the sort that was better for them. They lowered their basar, and they were given what? They were given vision of the heart. It would be better for a person to have vision of the heart while being blind in his eyes than have vision in his eyes while his heart was blind. Because they lowered their physical vision from what is haram, Allah, He gave them the nur of al-basira. He filled their heart with the light of vision. He filled their heart with the light of vision, that which is much better than it. فَكَمَا أَمْسَكَ نُورَ بَصَرِهِ عَنَ الْمُحَرَّمَاتِ أَطْلَقَ اللَّهُ نُورَ بَصِيرَتِهِ وَقَلْبِهِ فَرَأَ بِهِ مَا لَمْ يَرَهُ مَنْ أَطْلَقَ بَصَرَهُ وَلَمْ يَغُضَّهُ عَنْ مَحَارِمِ اللَّهِ. And so he was able to see with his basira and with his heart, with his vision in his heart and with his heart. And he, what a person who did not restrict his vision from looking at the haram is not able to see. وَهَذَا أَمْرٌ يُحِبُّهُ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ نَفْسِهِ يُحِسُّهُ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ نَفْسِهِ. This is something that a human being can observe and experience with their own self. And then he explains this. He said, فَإِنَّ الْقَلْبَ كَالْمِرْآةِ. For verily the heart is like a mirror. The heart is like a mirror. وَالْهَوَى كَالصَّدَعِ فِيهَا. And the hawa, the desires, the whims of a person in shubuhat and shahawat, they are like tarnish, like rust on the mirror. A person has a metal mirror or a glass mirror, and it's all dirty and covered with filth. It's covered with tarnish, it's covered with rust, so on and so forth, right? It's like the funhouse mirror is warped, right? He looks like he's 12 feet tall, or he looks like he's 2 feet tall, according to how the mirror is warped. And according to what he does to his heart, the ability to see with his heart becomes warped. It becomes tarnished, it becomes warped. Allahu Akbar. فإذا خلصت من الصدع انطبعت فيها صور الحقائق كما هي عليه. And once the heart is purged and purified and cleaned from the tarnish, then he will naturally have the ability to see things as they really are. وإذا صدعت لم ينطبع فيها صور المعلومات. And once it becomes tarnished and warped, he will not have the ability to naturally see things as they really are. فيكون علمه وكلامه من باب الخرس والظنون. To the point that what he knows even, and what he talks about, what he says, will be kharas and dhunun. And it will be fabrications and a guessing game. And the person, what he says, will not be based upon reality. He'll have some disconnected information, but because of his sins and disobedience, it will cause him to what? It will cause him to fall into dalala. And his sins and disobedience will cause a person to fall into what is worse than shahawat, which is shubuhat. It'll cause a person to not be able to what? To see things as they really are. Which is not a problem of desire, it's a problem of idrak, it's a problem of perception, it's a problem of knowledge, it's a problem of understanding. He will be deprived of the ability of truly understanding his religion. Allah protect us. To the point that his knowledge and his speech will be from the bab of al-kharas wa dhunun. It will be from the bab of al-kharas, of lying and fabrications, and of dhunun, and guessing. You want to do the last benefit?
Yes.
I'm done enough. It's not a democracy, but we want to take a little vote here. And then I want to wait next week. نتفضل إن شاء الله. نواصل. The last benefit. Actually, the last benefit is kind of long, but we'll do the last. The last benefit is actually short. Alhamdulillah. Al-fa'idatu thalitha. The third and the last of the three benefits. And these aren't just for. And these aren't just for any lowering the gaze by itself. This is the general reward of leaving off sin and disobedience. It gives a person the halawa of iman. It gives a person any light in his heart. And it gives a person the third thing, which is strength in his heart. Strength in his heart and thabat and shaja'ah. It gives a person strength and firmness and courage in his heart. He said, فَيُعْطِيهِ اللَّهِ بِقُوَّتِهِ سُلْطَانَ النُّصْرَةِ كَمَا أَعْطَاهُ بِنُورِهِ سُلْطَانَ الْحُجَّةِ. Allah, through His quwwah, الَّذِي لَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِهِ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى. Allah, through His quwwah, will give the person the authority of a nusrah, the authority of victory. And the authority of victory. And that comes about through physical strength, through courage, so on and so forth. And the person, he will have strength in his heart, and the strength of the heart is greater than the strength of the body. As Ibn Qayyim, he said in Al-Furusiyah, that the strongest of this ummah in heart and the most courageous, وَأَثْبَتُهُمْ قَلْبًا بَعْدَ نَبِيِّهَا, after his prophet, was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, who was not known to be muscular. Abu Bakr wasn't known to be the person who was throwing people around on the battlefield, manhandling people, so on and so forth. Abu Bakr, he was more of a frail-figured person, radiyallahu anhu wa ardahu, but he was the most courageous of this ummah after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had a stronger heart than even Umar, and a more courageous heart than even Umar radiyallahu anhu. And this is contrary to the image that the Jamaatul Tabligh and the Sufis want to give for Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. And the people, they constantly say, because Abu Bakr, he was like this, and Umar, he was like this. Allahu Akbar, la tadri. Ya miskeen, you don't know about the courage of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, right? And in every instance, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he was unshakable. He was unshakable as regards the genuineness and veracity of his faith. Radiyallahu anhu wa ardahu. He says, so the third benefit is the strength of the heart and the courage of the heart. He says that Allah, by His strength, will grant authority, the authority of victory, the sultan of al-nusrah over his heart. And He will give the person's heart the authority of victory through His strength. just as he had given it by his light the authority of evidence and proof, which was the last thing, which was the light of the heart. Just as Allah gave it the authority, the sultan of al-nur wal-hujjah. Allah bi nurihi a'tahu sultan al-hujjah, which is what we just heard, al-firasa, the basira of the heart, so on and so forth. And Allah will give the heart actual strength, courage to the heart of the person, firmness for the heart of the person. He said, فَيَجْمَعُ لَهُ بَيْنَ سُلْطَتَيْن. He will give him the two types of authority. وَيَهْرَبُ الشَّيْطَانُ مِنْهُ. And a person who is like that, who has the authority of al-hujjah, that comes from the light of knowledge in his heart, and the authority of al-quwwa wa-shaja'a wa-thabat, of firmness and courage, the shaitan will flee from that person. The shaitan will flee from that person. As comes in the athar, what is the athar? إِنَّ الَّذِي يُخَالِفُ حَوَاء يَفْرَقُ الشَّيْطَانُ مِنْ ظِلِّهِ. It's not authentic to the Prophet ﷺ. That has a true meaning. And it was said that shaitan used to flee from Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. وَلِهَذَا يُوجَدُ فِي الْمُتَّبِعِ هَوَاهُ مِنْ ذُلِّ النَّفْسِ وَضَعْفِهَا وَمَهَانَتِهَا مَا جَعَلَهُ اللَّهُ لِمَنْ عَصَىٰ. He said, and this is why you find that the person who follows his hawa, his whims, whether they be shubuhat or shahawat, the person who follows his hawa, and he will find humiliation, degradation, weakness in his soul. He will find that he has no izz. He will find that he has low self-esteem, low self-worth, low self-value. He will find that he feels disgusting to himself. And this is what Allah places upon those who disobey Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has made al-izz, and He honor and might for whoever obeys Him tabarak wa ta'ala, and al-dhul, and humiliation, liman asa, for those who disobey Him tabarak wa ta'ala. فإنه سبحانه وتعالى جعل العز لمن أطاعه وذل لمن عصاه. قال تعالى ولله العزة ولرسوله وللمؤمنين. As Allah said that the honor and the might belongs to Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. It is attributed and it is what He gives, and His bounty to those that He pleases, and for His messenger and for the believers. The honor and the might is for Allah, His messenger, and for the believers. And Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, He said, وَلَا تَهِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَنْتُمُ الْعَلَوْنَ إِن كُنْتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. And do not become futile, and do not become sad, do not be weak, and do not be sad while you are al-alawun, while you are the uppermost, while you are the most lofty of the creation. In kuntum mu'minin, if you truly believe in Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. And these verses, you see the reference for them there in the notes in Surah Al-Munafiqun and Surah Ali Imran. وقال الله تبارك وتعالى من كان يريد العزة فلله العزة جميعا. In Surah Fatir, verse number 10, Allah says, whoever wants al-izzah, then the izzah is entirely for Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. من كان يطلب العزة فليطلبها بطاعة الله. Whoever wants al-izzah, whoever wants might and honor and protection, because izzah has three meanings. One of them is al-sharaf, one of them is al-mana'ah, that a person is protected from evil. One of them is honor, and the other is quwwah, strength. Whoever wants izzah and all that entails of honor and protection and strength, فَلْيَطْلُبْهَا بِطَاعَةِ اللَّهِ, then let them pursue it by obeying Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. That's why Ibn Qayyim, he says later in his book, that the greatest soldiers in the army of Allah tabarak wa ta'ala is al-iman wal-amalu salih. If a person wants to be victory over their enemies, if a person wants to be protected over invading armies, if a person wants to be protected from the likes of what the people were facing in his time of the Crusaders and the Mongols and these sorts of things. The Mongols were so barbaric, many of the scholars in their time thought that they were the Ya'juj and the Ma'juj, having escaped from the wall that had been placed around them. He said if a person wants to have the greatest reinforcement from the army of Allah, then they are al-iman wal-amalu salih, iman and righteous deeds. Whoever wants al-izzah, then let him seek it by obeying Allah. إليه يرفع عليه يصعد الكلم الطيب والعمل الصالح يرفعه. And to Allah ascend the most goodly of statements. And the correct statements that people say that are love to Allah are ascended to Allah, they rise to Allah. وَالْعَمَلُ صَالِحُ يَرْفَعُ. And the scholars, they differ over يعني إلى من يعود الضمير وإلى ما يعود الضمير, يعني what the pronoun is referring to here. And righteous deeds يرفعu are raised by him or raised by it. Some of them, they say that what is meant by are raised by Allah. And the righteous deeds are raised by Allah to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. And that's true. And the second meaning is also true. وَالْعَمَلُ صَالِحُ يَرْفَعُهُ. And righteous deeds are raised by a person's or rather al-kalimu tayyib are only raised by a person's amalu salih, by a person's righteous deeds. That what he says is only raised to Allah once his actions match what he says. Once his actions match what he says. And this is a tremendous verse in Surah Fatir. And this is where we'll continue next week, bi'idhnillahi tabarak wa ta'ala.